What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about Xbox because it seems like Microsoft is still in a very bad position. I've been covering the entire implosion of the console, watching Game Pass numbers drop, their games launching broken, and now it seems like pretty much everything on Xbox is being released on PS5 for any scraps of profit. But what's been strange is that as this completely collapses, as the console wars essentially end, Microsoft themselves has been silent. Xbox, Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, a lot of these people have yet to really take stage and say, hey, here's what's actually happening. Well, today, an ex-employee of Microsoft, somebody that's been working for them for years, came out and directly said why Game Pass has failed, why this experiment of subscription-based gaming was never really going to pan out, and that's part of why their games have been so bad, so broken, and so under budget. Let's get into it. Hi, I hope you're having a great day. If you could, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, I've been talking a lot about this whole Xbox failure because I am fascinated to watch the most diehard Xbox fans kind of realize that this was a sham from the very start. People like Brad Sams, who have been very diehard Xbox fanboys, and again, I don't even mean that detrimentally. Everybody's got their favorite console. I mean, go on Twitter, I feel like I see hundreds of thousands of people that will buy anything that Nintendo releases, even if it is just an overpriced port. I mean, they'll have a blast with it too. They're not faking their enthusiasm. But people like this, I think it's interesting watching everybody kind of turn their heads and see that this has just been a pathetic magic trick. Phil Spencer has been deceiving you guys from the very start, either knowingly or unknowingly. You can see the #1 trending name in the world right now. Phil Spencer and Miyamoto are the top trends right now, and it's because everybody is currently wanting Phil Spencer to absolutely get fired. In fact, people are even bombing his camp in Fallout 76. People are that mad at Phil Spencer. But here's actually what I wanted to show you guys. Oh, okay, that's the nuclear slide. Okay, back to this. Okay, so this dude worked at Microsoft for years. He's also worked at Electronic Arts, a other famously hated company, and he published this very long statement over on LinkedIn that everybody has been sharing like crazy. You can see here it's got almost 9,000 likes. I've had hundreds of subscribers send this to me, so thank you to you guys for bringing stuff to my attention. But it's basically him trying to explain, whether positive or negative, why the Game Pass experiment really wasn't well mathed out before it truly began. So he says this: there are two reasons why all those Bethesda studios are closed, and neither of them have to do with Bethesda directly. Now, this comes down to Game Pass and Activision. The biggest paradox of Game Pass is that basically every game that launches on the service badly misses its sales goals. This does make sense. I mean, if you actually look at it, he just essentially spells out the obvious truth that many of us have been talking about now for years, which is, why would you pay full price for a game that's already free on your subscription service? And then once a game comes out, it may be top of the charts for a bit, it may be top installed for a month or two, but the essential issue is that Game Pass growth has stagnated. There's a ton of numbers that people are not really signing up for Xbox Game Pass, and they're not signing up for PlayStation Plus. But the difference is that PlayStation is not really betting on PlayStation Plus. They want you to get their premium tier for the retro games and whatever scraps they throw you, but really, PlayStation is all about that upfront stuff. Buy the console, buy the controllers, buy our exclusives. That's where PlayStation makes a majority of their active revenue, whereas Xbox was completely just betting on the fact that Game Pass would grow and grow and grow. Here he goes back to this. So games like Hi-Fi Rush, which is incredible, mind you, gets a very small bump in revenue from being the hot Game Pass game that month, then it falls off a cliff when everyone moves on to the next thing. Poor Redfall had it even worse since it launched in such a rough state. it never had a chance. This is something that I feel like I've seen a lot of PlayStation fanboys definitely throwing at the Xbox camp, especially for this last couple of years, is they've been saying, if you love a game, buy it. I love Spider-Man, so I bought Spider-Man. I love God of War, so I bought, actually, not only did I buy God of War Ragnarok, I bought multiple copies of God of War Ragnarok to give them to my friends. I don't know anybody that's buying multiple Xbox games. In fact, a lot of Xbox games, they don't even come out physically anymore. Like if you want the new Hellblade game that's coming out here in 2 weeks, and yes, of course, it's getting zero marketing, which was my video yesterday, that doesn't even have a physical release. If you tried to buy a copy for your shelf or buy it for a friend, you simply can't. You can get a digital version, but if you're already getting a digital version of it, why not just download it from Game Pass? Which means that the upfront profit is smaller, the download and active fan base may be bigger for a bit, but they're going to go on to the next big Game Pass exclusive when that comes out, or the next little indie thing that'll grab their attention. Game Pass has turned into this interesting double-edged sword because according to Phil Spencer, which obviously the man lies a lot, but he claimed that officially, due to internal metrics, people with Game Pass played more games. They logged into Xbox more often, they played more stuff, they tried different genres, and overall they just logged more total hours. And it sounds like even if that is true, it's not leading to more revenue. It's not leading to more subscriptions, more active fan bases, more downloadable content purchases. It's just leading to more play hours and not more profitability, which for a lot of their games seems to not be panning out. But let me actually go back here. His statement is very long and very in-depth. Obviously, this guy is a literal professional in it, so I really like the fact that people are totally spreading this around. The system was fine for a while when Game Pass was growing like gangbusters, but now it's slowed down and the amount of revenue it's attributing to games isn't keeping up with the budgets to make them. Now, this is actually an incredible point that I feel like nobody is discussing, is just the concept that games are getting more expensive to make. It's a problem. I'm not going to act like this is a good thing. It is definitely a bad thing. Gamers expect stuff to be 20, 30, 50 hours long, and they want it for the lowest price possible. Now, I'm a cheap ass, so I support the idea of give me the best game for the lowest price, but it's making it so the budgets keep increasing. There were leaks that Spider-Man 2 cost $300 million to make. Now, I like Spider-Man 2. That is not a $300 million game. The problem is that clearly they made every asset, every engine tweak, every lighting tool completely from scratch instead of copy and pasting anything from Spider-Man Miles Morales or Spider-Man Remastered. And so it makes it so that every game getting more expensive and then you're not getting a bigger boost of profit. It's definitely something where the bottom was destined to fall out. But it says this: all of that would not have mattered even 3 or 4 years ago because back then, Xbox was basically a rounding error on Microsoft's books. The division made some money, but more importantly, it didn't cost that much and other parts of the business easily covered the gap. Now, this is something I have mentioned here and there, but Microsoft has always said that Xbox is just a little for funsies thing. It's not made to essentially be a money printer. They have directly stated the fact that Xbox is just so Microsoft can have some physical hardware to sell you. It's not the primary purpose. It's just kind of this fun little extra thing to absorb time and have extra marketing. So now they're actually coming out and they did the Xbox buying spree when the fanboys were saying everything's getting acquired. Buy Sega, buy Square Enix, buy Capcom. Thankfully, none of those deals panned out because obviously Capcom completely kicks ass. I don't want them getting eaten by the Game Pass machine. But because they came out here and bought Bethesda for $7 billion and then bought Activision for $70 billion, now the Eye of Sauron has turned and Xbox goes, okay, well, now you have to make that $70 billion back. You have to make that money. Like, if they were spending $3 billion a year, Microsoft was like, okay, we make $22 billion a year. They made $22 billion last year. The current worth of Microsoft overall is in the trillions with a T. So when they were spending a little billion here or there, which is an insane sentence, you got to realize that kind of stuff, it is a math that can be mathed out. Whereas now that they're spending almost hundreds of billions of dollars to try and keep up in the gaming industry, now Microsoft themselves is like, all right, you owe us. Xbox owes the greater chunk of Microsoft payback, and they can't. So they're doing this by trying to cut down expenses. If you're not immediately profitable, you're fired. So even though Tango Gameworks completely killed it with Evil Within 1, Evil Within 2, despite that Arcane Austin makes the very famous Dishonored games and even made Ghostwire Tokyo that a lot of people liked, like, this stuff is still getting canned. I mean, when I think about the fact that, Ghostwire Tokyo obviously is Tango, but when I even think about Deathloop coming from Arcane, even the more controversial projects that have come out of these studios in recent years since Xbox acquisitions, a lot of times I like them, other than Redfall. It's still weird that because they were not profitable enough, they got the axe. Again, I'll never fully get over that, but it's making it where people are in this spot where they're trying to make Game Pass as massive and all-encompassing as possible, and it was just never going to work. So far, the big bets on driving new subscriptions, stuff like Starfield and Redfall, haven't spurned near enough growth, and there's not much on the horizon that will likely restart momentum. The best bet is COD, but now you're entirely risking all of your sales revenue on a singular franchise by trying to put it onto Game Pass, which also means you're going to lose potential massive sales. Again, the double-edged sword of Game Pass. They have made billions and billions of dollars. Call of Duty is not just the biggest franchise on the planet. It is a thing that just, it's practically a gaming industry unto itself. The amount of money that COD makes is uncomparable. And so if you say we're going to forego the upfront profits to make more back-end Game Pass revenue, that's a very, very risky roll of the dice that I don't think they want to do. COD will be fine, as well as other mega studios with huge IPs, but you're beginning to see the impact. All those smaller studios making really interesting games are going to fall away because simply, as long as a game is great, that's not enough. If you're in a $70 billion hole, then Xbox now has to try and find a way to dig itself out of. Now, obviously, this statement is incredibly in-depth, it's well thought out, it's brilliant because this guy is definitely a well-researched professional, but I feel like it also instills a lot of fear in the Xbox fanbase because they realize that it's over, that all the hope, all the joy, the fact that maybe Xbox can pull this off, I think people realize Xbox is dead. There is no coming back from this. From the very beginning, the Netflix model, gamification, was just never really going to pan out. And it sounds like a lot of their future stuff is also in a very deep set of trouble. There was a ton of leaks yesterday that the next Perfect Dark reboot game, even though it was announced in 2020, tons of people are saying that it is literally unplayable. It's in a very rough state. They don't even know how it's going to come together. It sounds like this is going to get canceled as well because it's the same thing where it can't make its money back immediately. People aren't going to buy it, and Xbox is probably doing that mental math of going, okay, how many millions of dollars have we already spent on this development? Is it worth another $100 million to try and roll this out the door for a bump temporarily in Game Pass subscriptions? Now, I say this as a massive fan of Perfect Dark. Stuff like this getting canned, that is what's killing Xbox more than anything else. The bad headlines, the hopelessness, the complete catastrophe of this brand, it's dead. It's getting nuked like Phil Spencer's camp. Xbox, you screwed yourselves over. You tried to shoot for the stars, and unfortunately, your ship just blew up on the launch pad. But these have just been my off-the-cuff thoughts. What do you guys think about the current state of Microsoft, and when do you think we're going to get a public statement? Because I still 100%, I'm filming this on Thursday, I still think we're going to get a public statement before the end of the week of Phil Spencer being like, Gosh, guys, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. And nobody's going to believe it at all because he's done a lot of apology tours, but we'll see how it shakes out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.